Tom, a man who believed firmly in preparedness, even if the apocalypse was just a squirrel chewing on the wrong power line, decided it was time to invest in a ham radio.
Think of it, Dave had said, eyes gleaming. We'll be like those cool cats on the shortwave, spinning tails and picking up signals from outer space.
So, on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday, they found themselves standing amidst the dusty aisles of their local Radio Shack, a place that smelled vaguely of solder and forgotten dreams. Tom, ever practical, beelined for the ham radio section, his heart set on a Zenith transceiver he'd been eyeing online. Meanwhile, Dave got distracted by a bin of antenna tuners, his fingers itching to tinker.
Imagine, he mused to Tom, contacting a distant civilization only to have the signal drop because we skimped on the tuner.
Tom just rolled his eyes good-naturedly. This was Dave, after all, a man who once spent a week trying to build a potato battery just to see if it could power a vintage rotary phone. As Tom admired the gleaming chrome of the Zenith transceiver, he noticed the air grow strangely still. The usual background hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to dim, replaced by an eerie silence.
Did you feel that? He whispered to Dave, a shiver crawling down his spine. Probably just the air conditioning, Dave mumbled, pulling out a particularly intriguing tuner.
But Tom couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. Suddenly, three figures dressed in black materialized from the shadows. Not just any shadows, mind you, but the particularly dense shadows cast by a tower of discounted cassette tapes. Ninjas, Tom realized with a jolt. Because of course, it was ninjas. The ninjas, each armed with katanas that gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, moved with a speed and precision that would have impressed even Tom, and he once saw a squirrel dismantle an entire bird feeder in under a minute.
"Dave, duck!" Tom yelled, his voice a mixture of alarm and disbelief. "Duck? Why?" Dave asked, just as one of the ninjas decided to answer the question for him.
And that's when the impossible happened. Dave, without even looking, casually plucked a wok lid from the A's seen on TV display by the cash register. The wok lid, as if imbued with some ancient power, met the ninja's katana with a resounding clang, deflecting the blow with effortless ease. The other ninjas paused, momentarily stunned. Dave, usually about as threatening as a fluffy bunny rabbit, had just channeled some inner Bruce Lee. The fight, as they say, was on. Tom, adrenaline pumping, channeled his inner action hero, or at least his inner action hero, as imagined by someone who mostly watched documentaries about squirrels. He grabbed a nearby boom microphone, wielding it like a staff, and managed to trip one ninja with a length of coaxial cable. Dave, meanwhile, was a whirlwind of wok-lid fury, blocking blows, disarming opponents, and even managing to knock a ninja unconscious with a well-placed hit from a discounted George Foreman grill.
"It's the leaning action," he'd explain later, "maximizes the impact."
The Radio Shack, once a haven of electronics and gadgets, was now a battleground. Transistors rolled across the floor like marbles, antennas swayed precariously, and the air was filled with the sounds of clashing metal, and Tom's increasingly creative use of electronics jargon as battle cries. Finally, just as suddenly as it began, the fight ended. The remaining ninjas, outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and possibly slightly embarrassed, vanished in a puff of smoke, probably smuggled in from a nearby magic shop knowing these guys.
"Well," Dave said, dusting himself off, "that was invigorating." "Say," Dave said, flashing a charming smile, "I'm starving after all that excitement. How about you and I grab some wings at Hooters?" My treat, of course. S2.
And as Tom watched, speechless, Dave and the Radio Shack manager, her cheeks flushed, headed out the door, the promise of hot wings and shared adventure hanging in the air. Tom sighed. Life, he decided, was never dull when Dave was around.